I'm a stylist here at Bumble, and I'm here to talk about bridal styling and updos and take some of the stress and the uncertainty that can go into it away, really focusing on the foundations and prepping the hair, getting the texture where you want it to be so that putting it up is the easy part. So I'm starting with Lauren. She has really beautiful, soft, thick hair. So I'm just adding a ton of thickening spray just to get some grip and hold into it and blow dry that in. I feel like so many times this part is skipped and the blow dry is skipped, the product application is skipped, and then we just rely on lots of hairspray and pins to hold the hair up, and it never really works. So getting the hair to the point where you can really work with it makes everything easier in the end.
Fantastic. And if you're just joining, this is Joey at the House of Bumble in New York City, and Joey's going to show some Bumble and Bumble foundational styling techniques. Be sure to drop in the chat any questions that you have, and we will be sure to answer them. Again, my name's Christian, and I'm fielding the questions and comments that are coming through to help Joey out. But also, go ahead and put in the chat, where are you joining us from? We'd love to hear where you are, and yeah, just say hey.
Okay, so I'm really loading her up with product, especially at the root. The look I'm going to do is a sort of soft textured twist, but she doesn't have color at the root, so I really want to get enough movement and volume in there just through product. So redirecting all of her roots to give some lift, just using my hands. Her hair is already straight, so I'm not looking to pull out more elasticity.
We got Nikki from Maui. We've got Marlene from upstate New York. We've got Stephanie from the Appalachian Mountains of Arkansas. Amazing. We've got Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Han again from Boston, it says they miss you, Joey.
Oh, I miss you guys.
And Dory from Albany, hey there, what products is being used? Well, we started out with Prep as the primer. I will show you the products as Joey is blow drying. We started with Prep to prime the hair. Joey then put Surf Foam Spray blow dry at the root, and from roots to ends, she added thickening spray. She's now hand drying everything in, and as you can see, she's really being mindful about using her hands to provide tension and help redirect the root with the heat from the nozzle.
Yeah, you can kind of, well, there's kind of a side-by-side, see just what that does. It's getting all the roots going in the right direction. It's giving me enough volume. I'm feeling for the product in there to make sure there's enough, because this would be a good time, if it's still too soft, add more. So I'm just going to keep working. Her root direction goes down pretty strong, so I'm going against that and lifting it up.
Wow, that is creating a lot of volume already. And for those of you that are joining us, Joey's going to be focusing on the foundations of updo styling and bridal hair. And one of the foundations is taking that time to really give yourself a good base with product and getting the roots redirected in the direction that you want them to travel, so that getting the style into place is more effortless. And sorry, you were going to say something,
No,
Joey?
I don't remember now.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you're starting with lots of volume and texture, and you want to put a little more tension and start smoothing it out. Whereas mine is just a really light tension, just to give the hair some lift without pulling it too straight. do a little more in the back and the crown. It's definitely a part of putting hair up that you don't want to stick. If the hair's too soft, you're going to be fighting with the curling iron, the pins won't stay in. And even right now, this area still feels silky. And this is where my pins are going to sit for the twist. So I really want to make sure there's enough in there for the pins to grip to. And I mean, we live on thickening spray, but it's something that's so great because you can just put it right on dry hair and you can layer and layer and layer.
Hi Azra, this is Christian and Joey, and we are at the House of Bumble in New York City. Where are you? Yeah, I'm loving how this volume is coming in, but it doesn't look like there's even any product in her hair. It looks very soft.
And it is still soft to the touch. I can feel a little texture to it, but it still is soft hair. And now that the roots are completely done with my hands, her hair is really dry. I can feel a little bit of product still in the mid to ends. So I'm just gonna take some really big sections with a round brush just to sort of smooth through the ends a little bit, but I'm not gonna spend too much time in the blow dry. My main focus is getting the product in and just starting to set up the volume that I want for the style. So big sections, keeping that elevation and volume in there.
Hi Azra, he's sending love from Pakistan. We're sending love back. We've got Elaine from South Africa. Hello Elaine. Sending you love from New York City. We've got Katarina from Poland. I love this international audience that we've got today. And if you're just now joining us, this is Joey, and she is doing hair on Lauren, and we are at the House of Bumble at Bumble and Bumble University in New York City. And Joey is demonstrating the foundations of updo styling. And Joey started with applying product to the hair to add hold. And then she has been blow drying it in just to give it a soft, effortless volume. Tara from New Jersey, what's up? Also notice how easily she's able to keep the hair sectioned without using clips. And a lot of that is because of the product that she's using. And also Joey is working in really clean, organized sections. And Hester, actually, the chair is as low as it can go. That just happens to be Joey's height. But we appreciate your being concerned for her.
I'm wearing heels too. So already, looking to see that the hair has the soft movement that I want. I'm not overworking it. I am still going to get in with a curling iron just to add even more texture. But this is the setup, getting the product right. You get the volume through the blow dry, so you can't get that airy volume with the curling iron. So you really want to make sure you're liking how it's starting before you get too far into the style.
Already you're getting lots of love for this blowout.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it's amazing because this is just getting us set up for the updo. Cherry Ann says hello from Trinidad, and this is lovely.
Aww.
And, oh, there was somebody else that I saw. Oh, we've got Sonia from España. Hello, Sonia.
On the back, I have to use a clip just to split it in half. And I left these top crown sections forward to cool. That keeps the hair out of my way, and that's gonna help it set with a little bit of extra volume. So just being mindful, like thinking about all those little details along the way, it kind of gets you to that end result a lot faster.
We've got Hester from Ireland and Ava from Czech Republic. Tammy from Leopold, Missouri. I love seeing all of these locations. Keep them coming. We love knowing where you're joining from. And if you are just now happening to join, my name's Christian, and I am one of the global educators for Bumble and Bumble, and I am with Joey, who is also an educator from Bumble and Bumble, and we are at Bumble and Bumble University in New York City. And Joey is demonstrating the foundations of updo styling. Ale.
My curling iron is on, so that'll be next.
We have Ale from Argentina. Hola. Also notice the elevation that Joey is using while she is doing this blow dry. The elevation is helping to lift the root. And then when she lets go of the section, she lets the root just stay lifted. And as the hair cools with that lift, that volume stays in place. So this is Lauren set up and getting ready for that updo.
And you can see, even I always check myself, I just kind of like run my hands through the root to give it that sort of like really sexy, like lived in but not back home necessarily. And the only way you can get that is if there's the right product. If the hair is silky and soft, you're never going to be able to kind of mold it and form it with those kind of soft bits to pop out. So I'm really happy with the product that's in there. And now, I mean, I'm doing a French twist. I feel like the thing with bridal styling is it can be anything. So, you know, you take the bits and pieces from this and then tailor it to whatever the style is that you're doing. I'm gonna leave some nice like soft bits out around her face. I'm gonna do center. She said she wears her part on the side, but I'm gonna go middle today. She said she's comfortable with that as well. So just cleaning it up a little bit. There we go. And the part, I feel like it's so, I mean, the thing with doing bridal hair, it's like such a personal thing. It's stressful, you know, you want to make sure the bride feels really beautiful, and that it photographs well, of course. So along the way, especially in the trials, like playing with the parting, playing with the placement, if it looks better high or it looks better low, and taking lots of pictures of it in the trial so that you can sort of figure out those little details. Like that looks good to me. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of dry spun because I love dry spun. It's a texture spray. I use it in place of hairspray. I always say I can do anything with thickening spray and dry spun.
Dory was wondering what brush and blow dryer were being used. So the brush is, I'll show you. This is the brush. And the blow dryer is called a twin turbo. I'll show you the blow dryer. This is called a twin turbo. That's what we use here at Bumble. They're really wonderful, really high powered.
Yeah, they're workhorses.
Total workhorses.
They last. They get the job done.
They can take a beating.
I'm gonna use a 1-inch curling iron. Depending on the length you know that if there's a little extra in there, I can work it out. So a 1 inch, and I'll just really stretch through this curl. Again, this isn't supposed to be a perfect pretty curl. This curl is just for texture and style. So just kind of twisting it off the iron, clamping down. So there's some inconsistency in there. It's not perfect and ringlety. And again, I'm not using any hairspray. The product's already in there from the blow dry. So I can see that steaming off. I can see the curl taking shape because the product is worked into the hair. And for me, hairspray is really just a finishing tool. I have to have structure in the hair before putting it up. And whenever I try to skip that step, I always find myself in trouble at the end. And then you're doing, the old pin and pray, we used to call it, and you're like, oh, please let this stay up. So I kind of know that if I get the hair, the texture, and the product is right, I can throw it up in 5 minutes. So changing the direction on some of these so they don't get too perfect.
Hi, Dory. I don't know the brand of the brush. Do you know?
Oh, they're ceramic plus ion.
Ceramic plus ion. And then the blow dryer's brand is called Twin Turbo.
So these pieces are going to kind of stay out, so I want to make sure these are done right, which can also be kind of challenging. I like to over-direct the hair forward. I want it to sit more on her forehead and on her face. So if I curl it over here, that's where it's going to sit. So by over-directing it forward, I'm going to bring that sort of emphasis down and back. So same with this one, I'm directing it forward. Making sure the ends are done, but not too curled. And then I'm not going to mess with it too much. I want to let that cool. I'll do the whole head, and then I'll come back and shake that out, but I want to let the curls set.
And we've got so many new people joining us. So if you are just now joining, we are at the House of Bumble in New York City at Bumble and Bumble University. And I am with Joey, who is our lead educator at Bumble and Bumble and also a stylist in our flagship salon here in New York City. And she is showing the foundational techniques of how to have a beautiful, effortless looking updo. And understanding those foundations and what it takes to get your style started up at the beginning is going to provide you with more guaranteed success at the end. And so Joey has been demonstrating product usage as well as blow drying techniques, and now she is working with the iron. The look that she's going for is going to be a very soft, effortless updo of a French twist.
I think French twists are just my personal favorite.
Mine too.
I just love them so much. And bridal can really be anything. Bridal can be trendy, bridal can be classic. The thing with a twist for me, or chignons, like anything like that, it's this timeless classic style that then you can put a modern spin on it with texture and products and the placement. But just those styles that stand the test of time. You know, she'll look back at these photos in 20 years and still like the way her hair looked.
Hey, Diamanto from Montreal, what's going on? So something to think about when using the iron the way that Joey is this is more about just creating texture in the hair as opposed to trying to create ringlets. This is going to help make her hair, which is naturally quite soft and smooth, this is just going to give it a little bit more of that undone texture that's going to look really beautiful and have lots of dimension. And the technique that Joey is using is keeping the hair flat like a ribbon and then just letting it cool, sitting where it wants to live.
And keeping it really, really vertical.
Oh yes, keeping it really vertical,
Like
yeah.
my iron is staying straight up.
And why is that?
Because I'm not looking for defined curls. I'm not looking for bounce in it. It's just to give me a little bit more softness and texture to work with when I put it up. And you know, if you're doing this and you have someone with just a ton of hair, and you don't necessarily have the time to curl the whole head, there are definitely ways you can take shortcuts and just, you know, smoothing out sort of the inside, getting the product in there, and then maybe just curling the surface if that's all that's going to be exposed. With Lauren's hair, it's like pretty manageable, so I'll just do the whole thing. But there are always those instances, especially when you have maybe like a bridesmaid or somebody that you can't dedicate, you know, 2 hours to spending on their style. Shortcuts are always a great way to go.
Hey Samantha in South Africa, thanks for joining.
And as I'm curling this, I can feel the product on her hair. Like I can feel the iron kind of catching in it, so it's good. But always along the way, if it's feeling like it's too slippery, it's too soft, just keep adding as you go.
I love that you've been doing this, Diamanto. Hopefully this is going to give you some fun new tricks that you can try next time you do it. And while Joey is doing this, I just want to reiterate the products that we have been using. So, well, we, as in I haven't been using them, but Joey's been using them. She started out with Prep Primer, and this is helping to prime the hair, soften it, condition it, and get it set up for the other products that are going to be added to the hair. At the root, Joey applied Surf Foam Spray Blow Dry to give it more lift and grip. And then thickening spray was applied all over to give additional hold and enable her to work more effortlessly with all of these different techniques that she's using.
Okay, so that's the whole front is finished. So I'm just going to jump into the back and, you know, kind of power through the back, knowing this really just the surface is going to be exposed. So, you know, I can work a little bit faster back here. Maybe just split that in two. Yeah, her hairs are canvas. We want to start with a really beautiful canvas before we just try to cheat the whole surface and make it look nice. Getting it all smooth, getting all of the texture right. Again, alternating directions, just to keep it really inconsistent and natural.
Yeah, keeping it nice and flat and making your making sure the iron is kept vertical. Hi, Melanie from Sri Lanka. Thanks for joining us today. Oh yeah, Diamanto, you're gonna love using these products for your bridal hair.
Yeah, and the thickening spray especially, because you can just put it straight on to dry hair, can save so much time. If you just tell your bridal party or whoever getting ready for an event, just to come with clean dry hair, and then you can go right in with the thickening spray, right in with the blow dry. It's gonna save you lots of time, not starting from wet hair. And knowing that, again, like the thickening spray, one layer might be enough, but then you can always add that second layer if you need more grip.
I'm so glad you're enjoying Melanie. Thanks for joining us. She says thanks for showing
I hope
this.
this is useful for you guys. I know wedding hair can be so stressful. We all love doing it. We love making people feel beautiful, but there's always a lot happening on that day. Everyone's a little stressed out, so having these little tips and tricks to just, stay calm, know that if you start with the good foundation, like you'll be able to get the look. You won't have to fight it in the end. Okay, 2 more, and we are golden.
It's very relaxing to watch.
I know it's that like repetitive thing. It's like meditating. And even for her, starting with something like this, if she wanted to take her hair down after the ceremony, it's like that the style is in there and it's gonna look really good. And I don't plan on using too many pins. 5 tops.
Wow, that's exciting. I can't wait to see that.
All right, so the whole head is done. This stuff has had the longest time to cool, so we'll just kind of start shaking that up. And once the hair is set, the more you play with it, the better it's going to get.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I know, right? This should maybe I should write down.
And for those of you watching, this is also a fun trick for, this is a look in itself. So this is one look that Joey has just taught you how to do, which is an iron technique. And so now that she's done this style, she'll take it to the next level.
Yes.
So you're getting a 2-for-1 in this class.
So I love this, very everyday, very natural. I do want to amp it up a little bit in the crown. I just want to keep it nice and sleek around her face, but I do want to give her a little bit more volume through there. So I'm going to do some back combing and lacing just to break it all up and keep it really airy. And then from there, we'll just figure out what's going to come back, what's going to sit forward, and put it up.
Beautiful.
But at this point, I feel like if they're looking at themselves in the mirror, they're feeling pretty good, right?
Yeah. I'm just going to come in nice and close for a little final look before it moves into the next look.
And I'm really just going to find sort of the hair that's sitting in her crown. Right where the head starts to turn back, like that area. We'll just start maybe 3 sections, we'll back comb.
Dory wants to know how much time you usually book for this kind of style.
I would do an hour and a half. I can do it in an hour. I'm going to do it in an hour for you guys. But an hour and a half, I feel like just gives a little bit more wiggle room. And if something doesn't go as planned, you have some more time, you're not stressed. And I would have done a trial. So that kind of helps me know that on the day, it won't be as stressful. So just really kind of getting that hair packed down at the base. So it's already starting to stand up on its own. And it's nice and even the whole way across.
Really clean, methodical back combing.
And again, this back combing, I'm not adding more product. The back combing is staying in there because of all that structure product I put before the blow dry. So those are the ways it just saves you time. All right, here we go. One more section here, just to support that hair in the crown. Okay, so you can see everything's nice and lifted. And if you're going for a real 60s vibe and look, you leave that back combing in there. It's beautiful. For me, I do want to bring it down a little bit. And I might even, looking at it, if there's too much of a separation from what's happening in the front or what's happening in the back, just kind of grab a little connector piece and just do kind of a lighter version of what I just did. And I feel like that just bridges the space between what isn't backcombed and what is. See the difference?
Yeah.
There. Almost blends it for you. And I'm just elevating straight off of her head, so I'm able to get right at the root. If you're over directing, you'll kind of get some weird spots, so just straight up. Okay, now I'm gonna do this technique that's called lacing. And what lacing is, it's just using my mixed bristle brush. And Mason Pearson's great. This is Bumble's mixed bristle brush. I'm gonna grab all those sections together and just separate them and open it up. I'm not brushing out the back combing, so it's kind of what it looks like. But I'll break it down for you. So I'm gonna grab all that hair. Maybe come on this side. Yeah. So I'm going to take the brush and I'm just going to take it right to the top of that back combing. I kind of hook it on there and then peel it open. So it's not brushing out the back combing, it's just airing it out. And I'm moving it in the direction I want it to sit. So if you need to sort of redistribute that hair in your hands, get it back up and elevated, and then lace it open. And it's always good with this sort of thing to maybe start with a little more than you need. You can bring it down really easily. Moving it all, and then I'll even grab some of the hair that I didn't back comb in front and just lace that in too. Again, just blending sort of where it isn't back home to where it is.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And very satisfying to watch.
Oh yeah? Good.
Yeah.
See, it just sort of like fills it and gives it like a little bit of air. Lacing it in the direction it's going to sit, so I'm kind of coming back. And then just lightly on the surface, cleaning that up. What do you guys think? All right?
Yeah, drop some hearts in these comments if you're into it.
So I'm gonna make everything look perfect and pretty. I want to make sure I like the way this is curled. I'm happy with that. I want to smooth this out a little bit. It's still a tiny bit messy, so I'm just going to use a styling brush and just very, very gently, not going into the hair, just taking, cleaning that part back up, taking what's on the surface, making it a little smoother. This is a good time too if you want to put a little hairspray on your brush. If you have flyaways, you need a little more control.
Samantha wants to know what the reason for lacing is.
Lacing just breaks up when you back home. You have all these little sort of packets of hair. So the lacing combines everything so that you're looking more at an overall shape instead of those individual sections. Does that answer?
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. Oh yeah, we got some hearts. We got lots of hearts coming up.
And then you can see like now is where if I want it to look a little more piecey, this is where I can just get my hands in there. And I can make that look as, sort of deconstructed or as smooth as I want, but it has that nice webbing inside. So it's like cotton candy. You can just sort of mold it and manipulate it however you want.
Kayla says she's never heard about lacing, so this is a great tip.
This is going to change your life. Yeah, and it's really, really good for people who don't want backcombing, but they need something. So you can even skip the backcombing part and just pick up the hair and sort of do like a back brush and lace if you want it to look even more natural. For brides, I need this if she were getting married today. You need it to last for a while. So having that strong foundation with the back coming in there is nice, but then the lacing just breaks it up. Alright. So I'm going to use a little more dry spun, get this surface exactly how I want it. And the dry spun is you know, I can use it in place of a hairspray, but it's really just a texture spray. So it has a light hold to it, but it's still adding more grip and texture.
And something else that I want to call out is the amount of time that Joey takes to work with the hair with her hands, and then taking the time to really look at the hair and look at how it's living on the client really helps to make sure that her work is working for the individual that she's doing the hair for.
And you know, this is a good, I'm taking a look at the profile. You want to think about how it's going to look from every angle. So obviously, you know, using my mirror to see how it is from the front, but then making sure once I put it up, I'm really happy with that shape from profile as well. All right, so now I'm just going to use 2 duckbill clips. You know, just with my hands, I'm going to start to pull this hair back, figuring out how much we want to leave out for softness, where that hair should be coming from. Rule of thumb for me is always, you know, it's coming from the bang section, and then it's coming from below recession. Once you start leaving that recession hair out is where it looks heavy on the face. So if you just take the bang, you take a little bit around the ear for softness, it's a nice, clean, softer version that your eye won't just go to like, oh, there's this whole section of hair sitting on her face. It's really just not taking away from the style. It's just adding that soft sort of vibe. So I'm just gonna feed this back. This is a little, her ear's a little too exposed. So, you know, pull some hair over just to soften that. And then I'm just going to use a duckbill clip to hold this in place so I can do the other side.
Kelly says, our model is gorgeous.
She is.
She is.
It's the same thing on the other side. And this is really, you know, her front legs are kind of perfect for this. So this could be something in the trial if your client doesn't have those pieces, but they bring you a reference image and, you know, that's the look they want. Maybe talking to them about cutting something so that on the day of you aren't also trying to talk them into a haircut. You know, because it's so funny with all the references that people bring in. And I was guilty of it on my wedding day. All my reference images were like blondes with fine hair. And I knew that that wasn't my hair, but it was just the feeling that I liked about it. So, you know, having that conversation with your client about like what's realistic and what, you know, what they like about that picture, what they don't like about the picture, and then just tailoring it to them.
And if you're just now joining us, I am with Joey at the House of Bumble in New York City, and Joey is one of our lead educators and hairstylists at our flagship salon. And she is doing an updo on Lauren that is to help show some of the foundational techniques that can help ensure you have success with styling any kind of updo. Joey's gonna do a very undone looking French twist, and she's already blow-dried product in, set it with an iron, and now she's sculpting it and creating shape using her hands and a brush and doing techniques like backcombing and lacing.
And I am now in the crown here. I've sort of pinched the roots and lifted them, so I am going to give it a little spray. See if that just kind of stays right where I want it.
Nice profile.
Oh, great. And I like, you know, it all depends on what you're going for. I kind of like that PC pulled out texture, but you could definitely do the same version of this with it being very clean and smooth. Alright, so I'm just going to give the front a little light mist. and from here, it's just throw it up in a twist. Like I've got everything where I want it to be. Everything's kind of managed. Those clips are helping me just to hold the hair back so that I can sort of gather this ponytail in the back and just throw it up.
Would you mind turning around?
Yes, definitely.
Wow.
Sorry.
It's like the door of a haunted house.
And I'm going to use some large hairpins. Again, this works for her hair. There's a million different ways to do a French twist. You can move one side, you can put some bobby pins, you can twist over it. I can definitely manage the amount of hair she has just using these large pins, and then I'll maybe do some detailing afterwards with smaller hairpins, but I'm not using any bobby pins at all. It's only going to be hairpins. Which was also another sort of mind-blowing thing when I trained here at Bumble, what I learned, like how much you can do with a hairpin, because you really control the tension that you're using and the placement. And if you get a pin in that you don't want, they're much easier to take out. Okay, so I'm gonna get that sort of, almost like I'm doing a ponytail. Get some lift into it. And let's just slip this out. Get that moving back. Same thing on the other side. Just being really, really delicate, knowing that I have everything in place. I don't want to mess up all that work I just did. Getting that lift I want here again. And this would even look really beautiful in a ponytail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get these handy. All right, so now I'm just going to take the hair around my thumb. I'm almost pinching it between my thumb and my pointer finger. And then I'm just going to fold it over. Making sure I didn't lose that good stuff there. And I like that it's not perfect and it's a little messy. I am going to clean that up one more time though. Just really, really gently on the surface.
People are loving this.
I'm so glad, you guys. And hopefully, I mean, what I've been finding with brides is that I'm starting to really put hair up again. Like there was definitely a huge generation of, beach waves and pretty hair, which is great, but it's fun to do some looks. There we go. Okay.
Ooh la la.
Right, so I'm just holding it in place with my hand and then using those large hairpins. I'm gonna go, let's take that away. I'm gonna go with the grain of the hair, kind of get the feet popping out the other side, and then you grab the underneath, flip it, and push it in. So even just with one pin, that's gonna hold it up.
Wow.
Okay, and then, you detail it. If you wanna leave some of the ends out, you can do that. If you wanna hide them, you just tuck those away. And then the same thing, two, in. And I'll do one more, but this already feels pretty secure. This is starting to droop a little bit too much, so I just want to lift that grain up. So grab those ends. In. Right. So now, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'm going to just go through and make sure, maybe this needs a little something there. See, as soon as I take that volume away, it changes the shape.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just the detailing. But really, the hard part is done. The hair's up. The placement is right where I wanted it. So this chair is so pretty. Make sure this, we can kind of mess those up a little bit with our hands. If we need to go through and pull some apart, maybe want a little more softness there. It's all very easy to work with at this point. So now I'm going to switch to small hairpins. And I can almost use the pin to, you know, mold the hair where I want it to sit. So I am gonna sneak one little pin in there, and I can feel the back combing inside, so that's really gonna stick. And that's another thing, if you have a bride or you're putting accessories or clipping things in, you can sneak back combing. Say I was putting a clip in here, I would maybe, before I twisted it, put some back combing right in that spot, and then you know that comb has something to stay to. A lot of times with veils, that's really helpful.
Oh, back combing in the areas where the veil's gonna go. Oh, yeah.
So it's hidden in there, and you don't see it, but you know that whatever, sometimes the accessories can be so heavy, so having some back combing to hold them is good. And yeah, I mean, her hair is like so moldable. Any little pieces that I want more attention, I'm just sneaking a little pin. And like, these are just ends, so I'm gonna use a little product. Switch to dry spun. And a couple of little pins, and I'm pretty happy with it.
It's beautiful.
So just grabbing some of those ends and getting them in. And I'm not putting much tension on these, more so just pinning it to keep it in place. So if she's dancing and not worried about anything falling out. Just grabbing those ends, feeling that back combing and pushing them in. And then I always just like to use my mirror. Hopefully you have one. And just check it from all angles. Make sure you're happy with that it's getting that nice head shape. The grain looks nice. If this was dropping, I would probably go through and lift it. I just feel like having the grain lifted just it lifts your face. Which we all want, right? And then this side you get more of the detail of the twist. You're checking the softness. I'm at this point too, I'm gonna take her cape off just so I can see her. So over here I am seeing a little bit of a gap in that piece and that piece. So just gently pull a little more out, kind of roughing up what's there.
Oh, that changed everything.
Yeah, right? So it didn't add a ton of hair, but it just diffuses any sort of like, you'll see their skin, and especially if you have someone with dark hair, you'll really notice those sorts of things. It's the same thing for me around the ear. Like I always prefer to kind of soften it over the ear. She actually has very healthy hair, so her pieces of hair over her ear are very long. So it doesn't work for me. Sometimes you can even just kind of like pull that stuff out and you'll find some like breakage or shorter hairs. But for her, I'm just pulling it over and making it softer. Because if I pull that piece of hair out, it's gonna sit down to here. So pretty.
So pretty.
Great. And this side, I'm happy with that. But again, her ear is a little too prominent. So just softening that.
And getting the structure in there at the beginning with the products really enables you to play with moving the hair around where you want to see it go without worrying about it falling out or, the style falling apart.
Yeah, and then just finishing up off with this is a really light hold hairspray. Just so that it survives, you know, wind and dancing, all that stuff, but I really do know that the structure product is in there and it's not going to fall. Right, and this again is just one version of a style, but taking away the foundation with the blow dry, the product, the back combing and lacing, you can integrate those into any style that you do. Even if it's something that's down and you're maybe just putting it half back, using those little tips will just get you to that end result so much faster. How do we feel?
Amazed, blown away, beautiful work. Thank you so much, Joey. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, it's wedding season is upon us. Even here in New York, we've had lots of the Met Gala, which is happening. It's really exciting that I feel like people are excited to go out again and people are excited to have their hair done. So I'm really excited for wedding season, and I hope these little things help you guys.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for joining.